God's blessings to everyone. This is a DGHradio.com news and information news update for the United States Virgin Islands, and I'm reporter DKS reporting the news covering the latest developments from across the United States Virgin Islands. A federal judge has ordered a former Lime Tree Bay refinery manager to sit for a deposition tied to the 2020 and 2021 oil spray incidents on St. Croix, warning that failure to appear could trigger contempt penalties. Residents suing over damaged cisterns and homes say months of postponements have slowed discovery, while defense attorneys argue there were misunderstandings over dates and representation. The court also ruled the executive cannot refuse to show up by broadly invoking the Fifth Amendment. Any privilege must be asserted question by question. The refinery has changed hands since the releases, but the fallout remains a daily reality for affected families seeking accountability and long-term remedies. Energy oversight remains under the spotlight as the Public Services Commission and the Water and Power Authority spar over transparency in WAPA's request for proposals for a long-term propane supplier. WAPA says naming its evaluation team mid-process could invite undue pressure. Regulators counter that visibility into scoring and potential conflicts is essential for public trust. At the same time, customers continue to report billing disputes after meter replacements. WAPA acknowledges estimating bills during device failures can lead to catch-up charges later, but says it is working to strengthen metering infrastructure and customer support. On St. John, lawmakers advanced a 20-year lease for the Cruz Bay taxi base to the St. John Taxi Services Corporation, aiming to stabilize dispatching and make capital upgrades like signage and staging improvements. Supporters see a pathway to better rider experiences and clearer rules. Independent drivers worry about access and fees at what they consider a public facility. In the same committee hearing, a separate plan to modernize the taxicab commission with $400,000 for digitizing records and licensing was held after fiscal officials urged caution about tapping the Tourism Advertising Fund before balances are fully reconciled and staffing needs addressed. Big roadway changes are in the works on St. Thomas. Transportation officials briefed the community on Rafune Hill improvements, including realigning intersections, flattening sharp curves, and potentially expanding to 4 lanes along key segments. The goal is safer sightlines and faster, more predictable travel between Charlotte-Amalie and uphill neighborhoods. Next steps include design refinement, right-of-way coordination, environmental review, and construction staging plans that minimize lane closures while keeping emergency access clear. Emergency managers are also hardening communications. Vitima successfully tested Starlink satellite internet to connect emergency support function teams across St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix during a live coordination meeting. The pilot showed stable throughput for incident command tools and web EOC access, offering a resilient backup when power or fiber lines fail during disasters. Officials will assess where additional terminals and training could speed deployment before the next severe weather event. With the federal shutdown disrupting normal operations, the territory moved decisively to protect food security. Using the Budget Stabilization Fund, the government issued 10,603 paper checks covering half of November SNAP benefits to more than 20,000 residents. Agencies worked overnight to get payments out, providing critical relief while national litigation and funding decisions play out. Residents are urged to budget carefully and watch official updates as the shutdown's broader economic effects, especially on local revenue and household costs, continue to unfold. WAPA, for its part, announced flexible payment options for furloughed or unpaid federal workers affected by the shutdown. Eligible customers can arrange deferrals or structured plans to avoid disconnections until pay resumes. The utility says the aim is to keep lights and water on for families caught in the cross-current of national politics while encouraging continued conservation to help manage bills. Virgin Islanders continue to step up for neighbors abroad. Local volunteers and partners are organizing the next wave of aid for Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa, focusing on medical evacuations, power and water needs, and targeted supplies requested by on-the-ground responders. Organizers say donations are being funneled through vetted groups to match logistics capacity at airports and seaports, turning hard-earned lessons from past storms here at home into practical help for a close Caribbean neighbor. Some brighter sports headline now. The USVI Explorers 12 and under baseball team returned from West Palm Beach as international champions, going a perfect 5-0 against squads from Florida, Australia, and Venezuela. Coaches credited disciplined pitching, strong situational hitting, and months of weekend practices. The team is already fundraising for a February tournament in Vero Beach, reminding us that community backing, right down to buying a bottle of water at a stoplight, can carry island kids to global success. In the pool, age group swimmers from the Stingrays, Dolphins, and Barracudas traded golds at the Virgin Islands Short Course Championships on St. Thomas. Standouts emerged across every bracket, from 8 and under sprints to 15 and over medleys, while coaches emphasized long-term development, water safety, and nutrition. The meet doubles as tune-up and qualifier for upcoming regional contests in Puerto Rico, and organizers expect official point totals after verification. Police news from St. Thomas. A 39-year-old woman was arrested after an aisle dispute at the market in Tutu Park Mall escalated into a physical confrontation, injuring a 72-year-old shopper whose ear required stitches. Investigators say store surveillance supported the charge that she was the aggressor. She faces multiple counts, including assault and mayhem, serious reminders of how quickly minor conflicts can turn costly in crowded public spaces. There's movement in a high-profile St. Croix assault case. After the death of a 76-year-old victim this summer, charges were elevated to first-degree murder against the 36-year-old suspect, who had previously been released on bail and allowed to leave the territory. The defendant recently surrendered and was again authorized to return to Florida under 24-hour house arrest, drawing community scrutiny of pretrial release conditions in cases with vulnerable victims. Financial literacy and legacy planning drew a strong turnout as the Economic Development Authority held its annual estate planning conference, now a 15-year tradition. Sessions on trust, probate avoidance, and post-disaster documentation urged families to map what you have and keep plans current after life events. Speakers linked sound planning to faster access to relief funds when storms hit, reducing probate bottlenecks that can stall recovery and fracture generational wealth. And on St. Thomas, a community cleanup at Mandal Bay is set for Friday and Saturday, 8 to 5. DPNR's Territorial Parks and Protected Areas Division will coordinate contractors and volunteers to clear debris along the roadside, beach, and near the pond. Residents with personal items at the site are asked to remove them ahead of time. The event marks a new phase of stewardship for a cherished natural area, often at the center of preservation debates. These and other issues are of great concern within the island community. Let us know your thoughts by texting your comments to 1-315-898-1449. You can also join our WhatsApp group and get the news, weather, and other insightful information delivered right to your smartphone. To join, text JOIN to 1-315-898-1449. Please include your name and city in the text message. You will receive a call to verify your request. I'm your reporter, DKS, signing off for DGHradio.com. Remember, DKS and DGH, together we dream kindly, speak deeply, and give hope, because on DGHradio.com, the news never sleeps. Goodbye for now. Ciao.